Hello and welcome at last to Blah Blah Blah. Now, what is Blah Blah Blah? Or put another way, qu'est-ce que c'est un programme dans une télévision pour le cochon après le vendredi? Well said. Well, come with me, because in here, behind me now, this fantastic set, this miasma of carpentry known to us as Club Blah, and to my right, well-known Australian band and all-round good guys, Do Re Mi. Hi guys, hi, how are you? And this way, come this way, we have a simply terrific audience. I mean, really superlatives for me. Yes, look at this. Just wonderful. Hello there, what's your name? Hello, how old are you? Hello, where do you come from? Hello, what do you think of the fiscal deficit?
Hi, Daddy.
Well, everything you see here tonight is in fact the result of more than 4 years' research and development by the ABC Television Experimental Unit. I mean, they're the same people that brought to you, with the help of a bank of computers, Molly Meldrum's speech patterns. And what they've been trying to do over that time is come up with a Tonight Show which reached out to the young people of Australia, the young guys and gals sitting there at home right now in their brunch coats and Ugg boots, wondering what the hell to do with their lives now Sherbet have disbanded. And you know, with Blah Blah Blah, I think they're on a winner. I mean, sure, we can't afford guests of the calibre of Chelsea Brown and Jeannie Little and Ugly Dave Gray and Stuart Wagstaff, and I guess we can't even afford anyone from Neighbours, so I guess that means we're not really a Tonight Show. But we're young, we're wild, we're impetuous, why, we're even outrageous occasionally. Watch this. Hey, look, camera in shot. Whoa! Yeah. So it's that kind of unpredictability you can expect from Blah Blah Blah, but it's not all fun. We are serious too. You see, here at Blah Blah Blah, we're not afraid to ask the difficult questions, and neither are we afraid to make do with the easy, polite answers. And more than that, I think it's important that you know that what we're going to try and do here is not just reach into the grand roots of Tonight Show television, but we're going to strive for something different, to be experimental. I think it's fair to say about Blah 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 that although our feet are firmly planted in the past, our heads are most definitely rooted in the future. Oh, another thing you should know is that everything you see tonight is completely live. I mean, what you see is what you get. There is absolutely no editing in this show. But enough about the show. Let's talk a bit about me. My name's Andrew Denton, and I'm the work experience compere for tonight. By work experience, I mean there's more than 30 of us here at the ABC over 1988 being trained to be fully qualified broadcast personalities by the end of the year. The idea being that we can replace the 30 or so current on-air personalities who go to the commercial networks at the end of the financial year. And as a work experience compere, it's my privilege tonight. It brings a lump to my throat to be warming everything up, getting everything ready for a man whose name is synonymous with some of the most wonderful moments in Australian television history. I refer, of course, to the King, Graham Linden. Yes, Graham Linden. Please, no, look. Graham will be amongst you later on. He will walk amongst you later on. It wasn't easy to bring him back, but he's back, and he's comparing Blah Blah Blah, and it's a great honour for me to be filling in tonight. And now a couple of other things I have to tell you just before we get on with it, is that it's very important at Blah 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 that you know that we don't accept any commercial sponsorship whatsoever. Maintaining our integrity and independence from grubby advertisers is all important and gives us our edge. So you must know that. Now, the other thing you need to know is that every night, Monday night, live on national television, someone will be getting into bed, much as I am right now, with this man, James Scanlon.
Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Good, James. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Now, James, what our viewing audience would like to know is, why do you interview people in bed?
All right, well, I can tell you, Andrew, in my many years of experience as an interviewer, I've learnt that the best way to interview famous personalities is to have them completely relaxed.
Completely relaxed.
Completely relaxed, and then they're powerless to do anything other than totally spill the beans.
Right, are there any famous personalities who have spilt the beans on your bed?
Well, there have been one or two royal personalities, but I wouldn't like to mention any names.
Well, no, of course not. So, James, I mean, getting people under the covers is fairly personal. Do you find a deeper relationship develops in the short time you're together?
Yes, it does. People grow to love me more and more.
Yes, well, I suppose they might. James, can you give us an example of the sort of searing interview style we're likely to expect throughout the series?
All right, I'll ask you a sample question.
Okay.
Okay, Andrew, what really turns you on in bed?
I'm glad this bit isn't rehearsed. You know the answer to that, James. Do, re, mi, turn me on, and here they are.
She's handmade, hardly perfect timing. What it doesn't know, gonna have to wake you, girl. I'm gonna have to go on the playground. You and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. In the playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. Lantern and the sunlight and the necklace. Then about the chains and tension. I mail this to you someday. Perhaps it isn't fair. I will find the precious thing you and I share. In the playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. In the playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. Everything's starting, last guy's coming down. Now only air is gonna hit on me. I could forget it, I should regret it. It will get some time about weather. In the playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. In the playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. Staring at the door and your history. Memories of blue tags on the wall. They keep on falling down. Here without a sound. Terrified to phone you, and I wanna come around. On our playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. In the playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery. In the playground, you and me, we cannot grow up. We can commit adultery.
Okay. Deborah, Dolan, come on up. Quickly, quickly. Come on, guys. Steady, steady. Come on, quickly. You don't want to miss the bar. Would you like a drink? Would you?
I'd love a drink.
A drink? Well, bartender, could you set them up? A long orange juice, I think. A long orange juice.
Long orange?
Guys, steady, steady. Okay, I think we can dock now. Come on, up. Hold it.
Do I take my orange juice with me, or
Yes.
is there table service as well?
Well, yes, the bartender could bring the orange juice over. Dolan, did you want?
bench service. Yeah, I'll have, I don't know.
Times are wasting, guys. National television, very expensive and all that. Let's get down.
You can share mine, Bill.
Okay, Deborah Conway, Dolan Bray, I can't tell you what an enormous pleasure it is to have you on the show.
The feeling's mutual, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure one of us is lying, but let's get on with it anyway.
We're honoured, first program and all.
Yeah, first interview, and it's really a big thing for us here at Blah Blah Blah. And I thought I'd break the ice straight away by getting down to tours and asking you, Dolan, I mean, when was the first time you had sex?
Oh, God. I was still a virgin when I was 21, actually, so I was a late starter as far as those sorts of things were concerned. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what actually happened?
I was terrified.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to do, really. I found out pretty quickly. I was told what to do, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was terrified.
Was it terrifying for you too, Deb?
No, actually, I was asleep.
You were asleep? You weren't with Dolan at the time, were
No,
you?
I wasn't with
actually.
Dolan.
No, right, so
I wasn't with Dolan.
we won't pry too
It was
heavily.
actually one of the great non-events of my life. I was very disappointed.
You were asleep.
I was asleep, yeah.
So how?
I'd like to say that I was drunk at the time, but I wasn't. No, I was just asleep.
So it was someone who was obviously very stimulating to you.
Yeah, yeah. It turned out it was my first boyfriend. We spent a lot of time together.
He's not watching tonight. If
No,
he's
I don't
watching,
think he is watching tonight.
Well, if he is watching tonight, I'd suggest he improves his
Do you
sexual
go to
technique. Now, were you guys real rages?
It got more
when
exciting after that, sorry.
Oh, I hope so. Were you guys real rages when you were young? Did you let it all hang out?
Did you let it all hang out?
Oh, yeah, I used to hang a lot of it out.
Oh, I don't...
Particularly on stage.
How much? Oh,
Yeah.
no, I mean, were you prolific fornicators?
No, I don't think... No, probably not by the standards of today, no, I probably wasn't.
So you weren't particularly into sexual freedom?
Well, I discovered sexual freedom a bit later. I let sort of the early part of my life sort of slip by, being fairly monogamous, and then as I discovered that there were other things other than monogamy, I discovered sexual freedom.
Right, and was sexual freedom great fun?
Yeah, it was. It was really good fun for a while.
For a while?
It sort of, it kind of, it doesn't last long. You can sort of do it for like 12 months and then it gets boring.
Can you?
Well, waking up the next morning and sort of, trying to remember this person's name is when you're not sure. That can be ugly.
Andrew, hi.
I didn't think we'd had the pleasure, but
No, it's been wonderful, really. Dolan, were you sexually free?
No. No. I lived at home with my mother until I was about 18 and...
Well, I mean... Oh, no, don't worry about it.
No, it was sort of... I remember she came up to me and said, after... I heard about sex in the playground and it was always very confusing because my mother was always said, oh, is there anything you want to know, just ask me. And I said, no, Mum, of course, there's nothing I want to know about sex. And, of course, there was heaps of things that I wanted to know. And it was always sort of... I went to an all-male school.
Right.
So sort of the guys in the playground going, oh, well, you do this and then you do that.
Yeah. First of all, you remove the staples and then you smooth out the centrefold.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean... The first time I'd never even seen a vagina when the first time I had sex. I mean, I'd seen a picture of one.
Yeah.
I didn't know, I mean, God.
you hadn't seen your mother's.
Well, no. God, no.
I would
Never. I mean,
I'm
I didn't...
sorry,
I
but
mean,
I would hope not.
Really?
I don't wish to get too moral, but I would hope not.
Exactly.
You've got to remember there's
Sorry,
still
no,
children watching
this
the show.
isn't, yeah.
Yes.
No, I had no idea about a woman's anatomy. Well, I'd seen pictures in Playboy and stuff like that, but what else was down there? God.
So you were obviously never particularly fussed by the prospect of sexually transmitted diseases?
Everyone talked about herpes and VD and things like that you could get, but at the time, no, that didn't really enter my mind.
But you went through 8 to 12 months of sheer hedonism. Did that
That's right.
ever worry you?
No, it didn't. I actually didn't think about it at all. It was sort of pre the time of the big herpes scare.
Right.
It was before that, and so you weren't really thinking about it too much, and frankly, I was really lucky too.
because I didn't take any precautions as far as I took precautions against getting pregnant. I mean, you know, that was license to freedom.
Different for girls, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you've got to take care of
That's
that.
good.
Boys don't have to worry
I've never
about
heard anyone
it.
say that before. That's
Oh, it is.
yeah. No,
I didn't worry about that at all when I was...
What, you went into condoms?
No.
Why not?
Well, I wasn't really made aware of them. It was sort of something...
No.
No, actually,
Jordan
I'd
reserves
prefer...
the right to have been an ignorant fool. Now give him a break.
I was, I admit it. But even now, no, I really don't like condoms. I'd rather not have sex.
Why is that? And why don't you like condoms?
What's on this side of the
Guys,
This is the people from Ansell back here.
come on.
room? Hang on, here
Can
we go, okay.
I'm trying to maintain a
Right.
friendly ambience.
No, I'm
so why
not...
the hell
No,
did you like condoms?
Why not? I'd rather not have sex than use a condom.
Are they that unpleasant?
Well, they smell of rubber and they're really awful, I think. Yeah.
Deb, do you agree with that? A condom?
This isn't from a... I must say this isn't...
Hey, listen.
Hey, wait a
I
minute,
don't like
wait a minute.
condoms either. I'd rather not have sex than have sex with someone who had to wear a condom.
But how on earth?
Because I think they're first of all, I think they're uncomfortable.
Hey! Are you? Now, I work experience here. I mean, why not? I mean, how can you abstain for Pete's sake? Surely there comes a time where you have to say, well, I best use a condom, or would you rather have sex without a condom?
Well, it's not a matter of not having. I'd rather not have sex than have to have sex with a condom.
Yeah.
Unless it was for novelty purposes.
Right.
Well,
Novelty condom.
Well, I mean, if you've tried it and you've decided that you don't like it,
Yeah.
then I think it's fair enough that you make that kind of a decision for yourself.
Right. Fair enough.
Thank you. Without someone trying to shove one down your throat.
Please. As Rex Mossop himself said, people are sick and tired of having people's genitalia stuffed down their throat. Okay.
Thank you, Rex.
Now, Deb and Dolan, I feel like I've really got to know you as close friends in this time, and I'm sure you treat me much the same way. So I know you won't be offended when I turn suddenly to this camera here and say in an impressive voice, fame. That mysterious jewel we all secretly seek. Many people have tried to define it, but none better, I think, than Kylie Minogue. Author, philosopher and actress, who once said, the really great thing about fame is it's easy to spell, you know? And with fame in mind, we turn now to what will be a regular segment on blah, 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 known as speech impediment. And after that, another segment called Blah Box. Now, the rules to Blah Box are very simple. Andy Neal and Amanda Collins have selected members of the audience who will be allowed to stand up for a maximum of a minute and speak to Australia on any topic they wish, keeping in mind only the laws of the land and the need not to make total idiots of themselves. All they need to know is that I will have a stopwatch handed to me almost instantly. And I will be timing them, and at the end of a minute, I'll stop them no matter what they're saying and move on to something else. The rest is up to them. Andy?
I just get really annoyed when I went down the beach, a couple of days ago, and everywhere I walk, there's just garbage bin 5 feet, and there's just wankers who just couldn't be bothered taking with them what they bring down to anywhere. Waterhole, beach, street, anywhere. There's people throw things out and just make a bloody mess, and I get pissed off at it.
Why do you think they don't care?
Just don't care, but there's no awareness for young people. There's no one that ever says you should be aware of, look after things. They just grow up reading, writing, arithmetic, let's go and get a job for the big multinational, but as far as looking after their world, they don't learn at all.
Okay, thank you. I think what you need to understand about all that rubbish you saw at the beach is it's in fact special bicentennial rubbish, so it's quite all right. It was brought in by the tall ships and is historical reenactment of rubbish dumped here 200 years ago. So you shouldn't criticise what you don't understand. I'm sorry about that. Amanda, who have we got?
Over here we've got Mark. 1, 2, 3.
I think the world's in a pretty bad mess at the moment. Like, we've got organised crime running rampant in all levels of society. We've got people dying everywhere from starvation when we're producing so much food that we could feed everybody if it was distributed properly. We're destroying our natural environment and we're under the threat of nuclear war all the time. I think the main reasons this is happening is because we're letting ourselves be social conditioned by the establishment and the authorities, and I think that we should all get together and do something about it. If we all had a bit more tolerance for people's beliefs and their views, I think that we could do something about this organised chaos, I suppose you'd call it. Maybe it could make the world a better place to live. I reckon we should all give peace, love and understanding a fair go. That's all I got to say.
Isn't that nice? Wasn't that nice? Look, I think you're being a bit of a misery guts. I mean, we may have nuclear war, we may have starvation, we may have famine, we may have endemic diseases sweeping the world, we may have massive inflation and political corruption at all levels of society, but we still have Madonna. Right. Right now, two of my deepest, closest, most endearing personal friends, friends who I would be happy to go through any crisis with, are here in the studio. I refer, of course, and say good evening to rampaging Roy Slavin and H.D. Nelson.
We're dealing with alternatives to sex, and by gee, we've searched deep through the files that go back, or they go way back to the death of Farlap, and we've produced a few gems, some magic moments, and these were for people who might be getting aroused in the studio here, might be feeling a little excited, might be thinking about doing something on the way home which wasn't safe, and I don't mean a U-turn, I don't mean taking all your clothes off, I don't mean drinking or doing something like that, and if we could roll the tape, maybe we could come to the first of these, and this is a magnificent display, isn't it, Roy? I know you picked this out as a personal favourite, and we'll see in a moment a bloke running at a couple of big sticks with a big stick, and by gee, this is very satisfying for anybody who hasn't tried it. Oh, there's the audience first. They're loving it. Here we go now, and here's a bloke with the big stick, as mentioned, running at the big sticks. Now, Roy, you'll notice...
It's the Errol Flynn technique, mate.
Yes, describe it, Roy, please.
Well, mate, if you're going to grab hold of it with both hands.
And then, of course, you can do something with both ends, is that right, Roy?
That's right, mate. Sky's the limit, as you can see with these blokes. So you just run up and you got 3 sticks, you're laughing.
And what about and here's a bloke who likes snoring as a way of getting off, and he also likes, and I know a lot of people don't like addressing these things, he likes hitting other people. Yeah. You'll notice here, for safety's sake, they've got the gloves on, and Roy, I can admit for the first time on national television, there's nothing more erotic than a couple of big blokes there just bashing into each other, is there?
No, that's right.
That's really
look,
satisfying.
Mate, I get a blood rush when a bloke goes down bum out like that.
So do they, of course. Yeah. That lot of people there, they really enjoyed it and rose to the occasion. Yeah. Very new sport here, of course, of
train demolition.
It's marvellous. People come from miles around. They're all wonderfully engrossed in this, and watch this there, and then, of course, the earth moved for that particular train driver, didn't
it? Yes, he'd be having a cigarette now as we
speak.
Would
he be reaching for a cigarette?
That's right, or for a tissue.
And, of course, they're trying to get this indoors, and I know Ida Buttrose was there the other week addressing them, and...
telling us how to put on a prophylactic.
That's right, and she came down to address the fishing club, and, by gee, we had to take the soap out of the showers after that, and there's you and me and the rest of the club members there enjoying her speech, and, of course, she recommended running in a big way.
That's right, mate, after you've done the act.
The act? Yeah. You do the act and then you go for a big run because...
Go for a big run. Well, mate, it relieves the tension. You know how it is? Instead of having a cigarette, go for a big run. If you're going to go for a run, run for at least 20 miles.
10 feet isn't long enough, is it?
No,
down to the corner
mate.
shops,
That's right.
nothing, is it?
That's right. And after a while, you get off the road and you feel like putting a vine leaf in your hair or something like that.
Do you? Why do you like doing that?
Well, I don't know why it is, mate, or getting a gold medal or something like that.
Because you've succeeded. You've succeeded,
yeah.
And, of course, this bloke couldn't afford the vine leaf, so he got a hanky and put it up there. Right. And now a lot of people like that too, and I noticed that somebody gets him up to kiss a baby. Yeah. Now, this is a safe technique, isn't it, Roy? Anybody could practice that, couldn't they, at home?
They could, mate, yes, if you're gentle about it.
Now, these blokes have been denied sex all their lives, and look what happens. They get out there with a ball and they boot it around so as they can get into cuddles after they've kicked a goal. Isn't that shameful, Roy? It should be banned and outlawed. Now, here...
They get frustrated, don't
they bump the bloke over and then they get into an embrace. Isn't that lovely?
They'll do anything for a cuddle.
They will. And this bloke's so frustrated he throws the ball into his own net.
Now, these blokes, on the other hand, are kicking a big red prophylactic into the crowd. Now, why would they be doing that, mate?
Well, it's a form of entertainment, Roy. It's hard to imagine that, but when they don't get the prophylactic, this is what happens, of course. There's a lot of this violence creeping into the game now. Watch the bloke with the prophylactic here. There he is up in the top corner now. See him walking away. Yeah. I haven't got it, and so they keep going bashing away here. Somebody here loses a boot, and that's very unhealthy, isn't it, Roy?
Now, what if they were to do this on ice, mate? Would that be, would you get the same sort of reaction? Would you get blokes trying to hit each other? I suppose
Look,
you would.
The great thing about ice, though, is it's like, it's cold down there. So as when you work up a heat and temperament, you can lie on the ice and cool yourself right off. It's better than a cold shower. It's better than hitting it with a cold spoon. It's better than any sort of tranquiliser you can like. There they are on the ice. And in a moment, of course, Roy, we'll see a couple of people who have actually done this. They're satisfied and they've got that bathrobe on that suggests they're out of the game. Is that right?
And they've had the cigarette.
They've had the cigarette, and then here they are now. Yeah. And gee, they're looking relaxed, aren't they? Gee, I wish I could look that relaxed after
They
a
look
bit.
French.
They look French.
They look Nordic. Yeah, marvellous.
That's a marvellous thing. They often take, now, of course, we've got a safe sex demonstration on at the SCG all this week.
Well, I always say, mate, safe hands, safe sex.
Indeed. And this bloke gets 3 in a row, and look how excited he gets at this last one. Oh, he's thrilled to bits.
Which reminds me, mate, the erogenous zones of most cricketers is on the neck, right, and on the forehead.
And the shoulder.
And you'll see Tim Zura.
That's right. Could we have a look at that again, please? Slow motion, lovely here. Lovely. Just give us a bit of forehead, will you both? That's right. And by gee, there it is. It's a magnificent release, isn't it, Roy? I know, and you and me out in the sheds. Now go with this one, son.
Yeah. Well, I like a bloke that comes up to me and says, "Put a rock on your head, Roy, and I'll bash it off."
And that's very exciting, isn't it?
Terrific.
Now the thing that I like though is to get a bit of hot lead and hold it in your teeth in your mouth. Takes your mind right off whatever else you're going to think about. Very safe.
That's right.
Very safe.
Right. He felt like sex just before it, but he doesn't anymore. That's right.
What he's
completely safe. What's he going to spit out, mate?
He's going to spit out a marvellous fishing sinker, and he just has to put a hole through that, and he can take it away. Now look! Don't look at this unless you are experts in this, please. Please do not attempt this at home. Please leave all your clothes on. These are professionals, Roy.
Trained professionals.
These are been to the Judy Morris and Joan Collins workshops. Yeah. They've been and they have experts standing by with safety nets if anything should happen. And these blokes were very excited by that, Roy. What a week it's been. And if you follow these simple rules, you're safe as a house on fire.
Thanks, Andrew.
Great stuff. Thanks, HG and Roy. It's sport as it should be. And you saw it here first on blah, blah, blah. Well, I have with me now 3 wogs. 3 wogs out of work, to be more precise. These 3 people with me right now, all trained to be teachers, but now they're actors, which says something for our education system. People who can't teach, people who can't teach act, apparently. They're a cabaret sort of a thing that's taken Melbourne by storm and is about to take Sydney by a gentle breeze. They're called Wogs Out of Work, and I couldn't be bothered introducing them, so would you like to do it yourselves?
Yeah, we would.
Who's first?
You can go first.
I'm first. Nick Giannopoulos, Wog extraordinaire from Melbourne, Richmond.
And originally from?
Originally from?
Ethnic
Richmond.
background?
No, believe it or not, I was born in Australia. I mean, it might be hard to believe, but...
Yes, but Giannopoulos is not a notoriously Australian
Greek.
name. Right, yes.
Notoriously Greek.
And the young lady in the middle?
Maria. Italian.
Maria Italian.
From Kew.
What a rare Italian name.
Oh,
That's
no.
very nice.
Yeah.
And, sir?
Simon Palomares from Carlton, and before that from Madrid, Spain.
Right, right. Now, you heard Dorland say before, because I'm sure you were listening, you did hear him say before that sex is different for girls, which was a revelation. Is sex different for ethnics?
Hey, tell him, Nick. You had all the answers. Go on.
Well...
Go, Nick.
Depends on which way you look at it. Greeks mostly look at it from behind. Not that I know much about that myself. Now, I'd like to point out straight away that that is a myth.
This is a penetrating kind of a reply here.
Yeah, I mean, I've always grown up with this thing that that anal sex is synonymous with being Greek. Now, that's bullshit. Okay, I mean, I was first propositioned at about 16 to perform anal sex on...
What a bragger, Nick.
You're a late starter, mate.
Listen, I had hairy armpits when I was 9, you know what I mean?
Let's not get into that. Maria, as a good Italian girl, I mean, was it difficult for you growing up maintaining your virginity for Mama?
Huh?
You rephrase that?
Your mother's watching the show, Mama.
My mother's watching the show. I can't answer this question.
She doesn't understand a word of English, but that's okay.
Oh, well, let me put it another way. Did you scruff much?
Yay or nay? That's what you
Yay or
want
no?
to know.
I don't understand that lingo. Scar, sorry.
Well, are you a virgin or not?
No, we don't want to. No,
do you have a
We
question?
want to know if
I'm
you're
interested.
still a virgin.
I'm
Yeah,
interested
I don't
in
answer
your
that question, I'm sure.
in your cultural upbringing, the ethnicity.
It was
of
different.
How?
Well, you know, I don't know. It's just different.
She went out with a lot of Greeks.
No, get out. Oh.
Simon, Spaniard, hot-blooded, Latin.
Yes. No. There is a myth that Spaniards are supposed to look like Rudolph Valentino, who was in fact Italian.
And he's dead, so
and
it's
he's
not
dead.
good to look like him.
No, not much of a love these days. But no, there's this thing about the Spanish being hot-blooded, which I mean, we've got Julio Iglesias to thank for that.
I'll let you know a little.
We have Julio Iglesias to thank for nothing.
For nothing, really, yes.
I'll let you know a little secret, actually. Simon played a Turk in The Light Horseman.
A Turk?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, they wouldn't... They actually cast you as a Turk.
Yeah, I actually never get any parts as a Spaniard because I don't look Spanish, and I never get any parts as an Australian because I'm not Australian, so that's the end of that.
Did you have to walk around with your arms up like this?
No, actually, it was quite hot in the desert, and they asked me to keep them down, but
well,
they were very nice about it, though.
Were you very sexually liberated? Were your friends, ethnic friends, very sexually liberated?
I think the main difference, and it's very obvious with ethnic kids, is the difference between the way the boys are treated to the way the girls are treated. I mean, this thing. I mean, still machismo is sort of very, very much encouraged, and sort of virtue is very much encouraged in the girls, and that's still a big part of being ethnic here, of growing up as a migrant here. It's changed overseas, but you've got to remember that migrant parents have been in this country for say 20, 30 years, and in a lot of ways their attitudes have not changed along with their country's attitudes back in Europe.
The funny thing is, when our parents now go back to Greece or Italy or whatever, the country's changed so much, has modernised so much that they can't relate to it anymore. You see, they've come from a completely different generation, and the morals and beliefs of that generation have stayed with them, and they've actually stayed out of touch with their original country. That's the real paradox about the whole situation. And like when Greek kids, when kids of Greek background actually go over there, they find it completely liberating, because here they are in their parents' country, and the attitude is completely different to their own parents in Australia.
Deborah, were you ever lasciviously handled by a hot-blooded Latin gentleman?
No, I can't say I was. Oh, wait a minute. Well, I don't actually know this. So he was very hairy, though.
You were asleep at the time,
so
right?
it could be. No, this time I was drunk.
Oh, I see. They're all the same after a while, yes. So, guys, you don't seem to fit the stereotype particularly, if you don't mind my saying, of the hot-blooded macho ethnic people.
Well, not all the time. No.
Not all the time.
No. Only when we go to discos.
When we rip out.
Yes, well, we've got some photos which we'll be showing the audience at home later.
Oh, not the three-piece white
No,
suit!
please. It ended up as two-piece by the time we were finished. No, what I'm interested to know is, allowing for the reputation of your various communities, is safe sex something that's practiced now, or is it a bit of a joke?
What's safe sex?
Well, the thing is with our parents, it's celibacy all the way, really. I mean, so safe sex just comes into it naturally. There is, it's still with the older generation expected that you will marry a virgin or be a virgin when you get married, so to speak.
So it's really interesting, right? Because like every young Greek or Italian male, whatever Yugoslav, is brought up with the belief that his mother was a virgin, so his wife has to be a virgin, and like it's an endless pursuit to actually try and find a route. And also at the same time, also at the same time, eye someone off who's a virgin and sort of keep him to the side.
Yeah.
It's a classic thing of like when I was sort of going out, the thing to pick up at discos or nightclubs was what we used to call a skip chick. Skip is as in Skippy, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're wogs.
Skips.
All of you are skips. Because I don't see that much olive skin in the audience.
That's pretty damn offensive and racist, but go on.
But anyway.
It's that sort of show. So, what was I saying?
You were picking up Skip.
Oh, yeah, skips that just go.
You were about to be hanged by that part of the audience there, actually.
To pick up a route, right, it had to be a skip chick, okay? Because you were guaranteed a route, okay? And it's absolutely that was the logic. That was the logic, you know. I mean, you went after a Greek or Italian girl, you knew you'd get her into the car park, you know. You'd start the sort of you'd start the foreplay and it'll have to end there, you know. But with skip chicks, you could go all the way, you know.
What, home?
Yeah.
Yeah. And back.
And not take them with you.
Guys, look, I really don't know how to thank you, so give me the stopwatch and I'll walk on. And it's time actually for another blah box. The people of Australia speaking their minds regardless of what it is that's on them.
Hi, first of all, I'd like to say hi to Australia, or g'day. Also, I was going to talk about nookie, but everyone's covered that at the moment. So what I'm more interested in is unemployment. I do a course with the Community Youth Support Scheme, and we train people to be clowns and to go out and earn money and get back on their feet and try and make everyone smile in the world, and no one will fund us, yet people can go out and earn lots of money being a clown, people make a living at it and things like that, but unfortunately no one in the government seems to consider this and wants to give us a fair go. We're not necessarily for fun, we just want to make people laugh. So I guess that's it. Hi!
That's all very honourable, and I'm not going to argue with you, but we have paid politicians to make us laugh, and really I think you're just being a bit idealistic there. Andy, who have we got lined up for an interesting thought or two now?
We've got Kath, who's bringing us back a bit to the topic being discussed tonight. She's got something to say on kissing and cuddling.
Yeah, good old-fashioned kissing and cuddling. I think there's too much, when you talk about sex, everyone thinks in, out, and they're getting ahead of themselves, because remember when you were at high school and you first started going out with someone nice and you got to know them and you went out with them and you kissed and you cuddled and you had a good time and you just mucked around, and you didn't think that the minute you kissed at someone you had to take off all your clothes and leap into bed with them, and you used to have a good time at parties and you didn't worry about getting pregnant and you didn't worry about getting sick. So enjoy yourself and kiss and cuddle, and you don't have to sleep with someone just because you've kissed and cuddled with them, and you're not going to catch anything.
Why do you think people don't get into kissing and cuddling as much as they used to when they were younger?
I think people think it's more grown up to actually have proper full-on sex like they do in the movies, and they don't remember that it was fun to just kiss and cuddle.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
I hope this doesn't mean I'm going to be pregnant. OK, well, they're the issues of the moment. Blah box, canvassing, all the things that are important to Australians. But now it's time to cross to the Parkinson of the pillow slip.
Thanks, Andrew. Welcome to In Bed Tonight with James Scanlon. I'm James Scanlon, and tonight my special guest is a giant in the Australian entertainment industry. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he's a rock and roll outlaw. He's the bad boy for love. Angry Anderson.
You didn't do anything to me while I was asleep, did you?
No, Angry, we're here to prove that a couple of fellows can go to bed with each other without, doing it.
I've known that for years.
Right. Now, Angry, you've just joined NACAIDS on the Youth Council. Why is that?
Well, they asked me, and there was a small retainer to think of. No, obviously it's a fairly serious, outgoing. So
But you're not personally now a radical celibate.
Heavens no, no. One of the reasons that I got involved is because, I'm a rampantly active sexual male.
You're right into safe sex, aren't you?
I have been for years.
Frottage.
Yeah, that too.
Mutual masturbation.
All that. Have done a lot of that. Still do a lot of that.
And it's just as good as, the real thing, isn't it?
No. No.
But look, Angry, what turns you on? I know that's what the viewers really want to know.
What turns me on?
Yeah.
I really, really like girls. No, what turns me on is something that is, you know, I'd love to be sort of really glib and say, like, I love a woman who has an understated sexuality. I love short skirts. I love cheeky pert bottoms. I love upward tilting firm breasts. I like brown thighs. I like all the things that make Australian women stand out amongst femininity in the world. I think Australian women are so unbelievably naturally sexual. They don't really have to do an awful lot anyway, but I love it when they do. I love it when you go to a disco. I don't go to discos, but I'm told that's what happens. I love it when you go to those places and you see a babe and she's got black pumps on and she's got fishnet stockings and she's got leather skirt on. I have never ever got sick of that, and God help me, I hope I never ever do. I mean, I like a woman to you know, dress up as a school teacher or a nun, but I really, really like a good, healthy, robust woman.
Well, good. Well, thanks for sharing that information with us, Angry. If this was a commercial network, we'd go straight to try and sell some product now, but it's not. We're on the ABC, and see the set's falling down. Over to Andrew. Thanks.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Angry Anderson. You know, a lot of people come up to me in the street and they say, Andrew, what's Angry Anderson's real name? And I'm going to tell you tonight, because that's the sort of groundbreaking show we are. Angry Anderson's real name is Penelope Anderson, and you heard it here first. Okay, now, I have here with me a close personal friend, an up-and-coming artist who's destined to be a star on the Australian rock and roll scene, or if not a star, certainly to know people who have been. And he normally sings with a group called Tall Tales and True, but tonight he's on his own. I'd like to present to you my deep personal friend, Martin Delahunty.
It's Matthew, Anthony.
Matthew. Hang on. Don't ever call me Anthony. I'm Andrew. Matthew Delahunty.
Took your troubles cross town, begged, stole and borrowed. Traded all your yesterdays for a glimpse of tomorrow. You suffered that heat, you felt that pain. Said, what you wanna go down that same old road again? Well, I stood by you once, I stood by you twice, but I can't stand to watch you skate away on thin ice. Oh, please, think of yourself. Well, I'll still be here. Think of yourself. Well, don't worry about me or anyone else. Well, think of the damage. Think of yourself. Gates are closed behind me. I have my purpose locked away in your emotional circus. Well, I know I went quiet, I did not make a scene, but now I fight from the inside and I don't play clean. I'll knock down Goliath, go naked through glass, I'll tear down anything standing in your path. But how do I get to the devil in you? Crush that which crushes all hope. Well, I say, please, think of yourself. Well, I'll still be here. Think of yourself. Well, don't worry about me or anyone else. Well, think of the damage. Think of yourself, of yourself.
Did you write that song?
I wrote that song.
You wrote that song?
Especially for the show. No, well, not exactly, but...
You've been through some tough times, haven't you?
You can tell.
Yes, I can tell. It's something in your music. But, Matthew, don't worry, because magically tonight we have $10 to pay for a wonderful performance. Thanks very much. Now, if you wouldn't mind...
And that's why you didn't want the rest of the band to come?
Well, no, that's for the band. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind taking the stool back with you. Thanks very much. Martin Delahunty, everybody. OK. Now, what have we next? That's right, over here somewhere is... Ah, here he is. Yes, I'd like to introduce to you Peter Steiner, King's Cross general practitioner and medical writer. Welcome, Peter. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
How are you going? Good.
Now, Peter, King's Cross is a notoriously sexually active area, and you're a GP up there. Do many of your patients, do they know a lot about AIDS?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of our patients have the same sort of myths about AIDS that we've seen tonight. For example, the myth that people like condoms. People don't like condoms. They use condoms because they save somebody's life or they save their own lives.
AIDS is just it's an abstract term. It's 4 letters that they see in the press. You're a doctor. Can you describe straightforwardly what happens when someone gets sick from AIDS?
Well, it can either be a very, very sudden process and that person wakes up one morning and can't breathe and they've got a very, very severe form of pneumonia, or more commonly we see just they gradually go downhill. They get just like symptoms of the flu or glandular fever. They start losing weight, they start losing appetite, they start losing energy, they get fever, they get a bit of diarrhoea, some of their lymph glands may swell, and it's usually a gradual deterioration. But it's not something that, you know, one day you wake up and you suddenly say, I have AIDS. This is another misconception. Patients come in with the most ridiculous, trivial symptom and want to be tested for AIDS.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they're not doing anything in their meantime to reduce their risk factors.
Right.
It's a pity, isn't it?
For a lot of people, condoms are something of a mystery or a difficult art. Is it really that hard to use a condom?
Well, it is not a difficult thing to do once you understand some certain basic principles. And condoms are used during penetrative sex. And the last time I looked there, in the male there are 2 orifices that are usually penetrated, that is the mouth and the anus. And in the female you have a 3rd orifice, you have the vagina, okay? If you're going to have sex involving the vagina or the anus especially, you should use a condom. There are some very simple ways of learning how to use condoms. For example, condom companies send this sort of thing out to sex clinics and general practitioners, a particularly useless, unrepresentative model of what is supposed to be a penis. That is a condom applicator. However, if we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, we should be looking more at things like this, for
Errol
example.
Flynn glass representation.
Hands up who's seen the penis with the tip. So, if we want to pass some of these around amongst the audience, for example, perhaps some of our friends here at the back. This one's quite exciting. Who likes that one there?
Don't laugh, one of these could be your mother.
We'll have a look at simple things as to how to use a condom, okay? Here's an average size Caucasian penis. This is a condom before...
Yep, I'd vouch for that.
Before opening, look at the brand name, make sure that it's made in Australia. The problems that occur with condoms and the Choice Survey and all surveys related to condoms that came from overseas, from Korea and from the United States.
Yep.
Okay? Check the
Even
expiry
United
date.
States condoms.
If the expiry date's no good, and if the expiry date's expired, the rubber may be perished, so you've got to obviously think that condom is more likely to break.
Right.
Okay? Simple thing. Next thing is, you've got a penis. Before you apply the condom, you must realise taking it out of the pack, you can run into some problems. If you've got long fingernails, you can make a small nick. You mightn't be able to see it, but it's big enough to break under pressure during the intercourse, okay? You take the condom, and then you take the tip between the fingers, okay, making sure it's right way around. We must apply it to an erect penis, not to a semi-erect penis, and we must apply it before any penetration. Likewise, it has to be applied, has to be removed while the penis is erect, not after the erection's gone down, otherwise it can leak and the thing can get stuck in the vagina, and it has to be held at the base. So we just apply it by expelling the air at the tip so that you don't get any air coming down and causing it to slip off. And you slip it on like that, down around the base of the penis like that.
So the condom is on.
Yep.
And now is that perfectly safe?
Well, it's as safe as we can get, okay? If you're going to have penetrative sex, condoms have a failure rate in contraception. They have a possible risk factor in terms of breakage. Like I said, watch out for fingernails. Don't let creases get in the condom when you put it on, because if you get a crease when you put it on, it's more likely that crease will tear, okay? If you're going to have prolonged sex for, say, more than an hour, there's a chance, anyway, not a very great chance, that the rubber will perish. So you take it off, put a new one on if you're going to have prolonged period of sex. That's as best as we can do if you're going to have penetrative sex.
Right.
So it's all we've got at the moment because things are looking pretty bad. Hopes for a vaccine are actually worse than they were this time last year. We know that people who, for example, women who have had a previous history of sexually transmitted diseases such as chlamydia or pelvic inflammatory disease, herpes, gonorrhea and so on, the lining of their genital tract is somewhat eroded. They have less cells between the actual surface and the bloodstream, so they're more likely to have passage of the AIDS virus if they have unprotected sex. Likewise in the male, if he has any breaks in the skin or any lesions such as a healing herpes scar or something like that, that also makes it more possible for the AIDS virus to get from the surface of the skin of the male's penis right down into the bloodstream. It should be said in all cases that the person who's receiving the penis, the receptive person, either in anal sex or in vaginal sex, is far more at risk than the person who's actually doing the inserting.
So despite the laughs, there's no particular joke about condoms. They are, in fact, a lifesaver. Peter, we'll get back to you shortly. I should remind you, I've just been told that Graham Linden will be here fairly soon. That's right.
Andrew, before we go, as a lifesaver, could I say one more thing? It's important if you're using these things and you're using lubrication, let's say in those 10% of couples who do have anal sex, it's very important you've got to use a water-based lubricant. Vaseline doesn't do, saliva doesn't do, neither does simple things like intensive care lotion or butter or baby oil, right? You've got to use a water-based lubricant, something like Lubrifax or KY are the two commonly available brands. If you don't use those, you risk this thing here breaking and you lose all the protection.
Okay, right. Well, say goodnight, Dick. What we're going to do now is see some of the views of the audience on the way in on the bus tonight about sex and its consequences.
Right. Can you remember when you first started having sex?
Of course. I don't think anybody will ever forget.
Yeah. Sort of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rushed. Scary. Well, actually, I'm still a virgin. I'm saving myself for marriage.
Only vaguely. I remember my first hand job more than the first time I had sex.
Were you aware of sexually transmitted diseases at all?
Not at all, no.
Back then, there was nothing. There was nothing to worry about. Nobody cared.
Nothing much except getting the girl pregnant, I think.
Oh, no, I give them out. I'm not worried about it.
No, I don't really know much about it.
I had no idea.
Are you more concerned about them now?
Yeah, 100% more concerned, yeah.
Nah, I'm not that type of guy. I think it's pretty risky these days.
Definitely more aware.
Has AIDS made you change your attitudes towards sex?
Well, of course it has. It's changed it so now a bloke refrains instead of once upon a time he'd go out, get a girl, no problem from the pub. I don't do it anymore.
You know, it's a pretty heavy risk when you're talking about your life.
I'm aware of it, like, you know, I know it's around and that, but it's over 3 years since I've had sex.
The AIDS issue's just, you know, it's just huge. And I'm really concerned now about AIDS, really.
I'm not real scared, but I think you've got a slight risk of getting it, a pretty good risk of getting it anyway.
If I was single, you know, I'd think very differently about picking up a casual partner.
I'm sort of concerned for the society and, you know, all of us together. I am concerned about the disease.
Well, has your behaviour changed these days?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, like I used a condom last night, for instance.
Less partners and safe sex.
Use a condom.
So has your sex life changed much since we've known about AIDS?
Well, I don't know if mine's changed much since we've known about AIDS. It certainly changed after I broke up with my boyfriend. No, of course it has to. You have to be very careful about what you're doing these days. Anybody who says that their sex life hasn't changed is trying to fool not only themselves but everybody else.
When it comes to starting off a relationship,
You can talk deep to a person. You can find out all their previous... You can have a look at their photo albums. You can see where they've been, what they've done, etc. But the whole basis of it is, if they're honest with you and you're honest with them, you've got nothing to worry about.
Have you ever been involved with anybody who hasn't been honest with you?
Yes.
One-night stands are definitely gone. I mean, it certainly has decreased greatly over the last, 2-3 years since AIDS information in the United States in particular.
One-night stands are alive and well in my area, so...
Where's that?
Out the Cronulla way, so... I don't know about America, but in Australia, one-night stands are alive and kicking, I'll tell you. So.
What about you? Did you ever have one-night stands?
No, not really. I went through a co-ed boarding school and also teachers' college, and I found kissing and hugging is quite enough. On campus, everyone's really getting into it, so I prefer to be an individual.
Did you say hugging or huggling?
Hugging. Yeah, I can't see what's wrong with sort of kissing and hugging and being together on a nice romantic walk around the duck pond or something. So I said, get on the cloud. But no, I think the only thing AIDS would really affect me is that if I was going to have a family and have children, I would not like to pass it on to any children or things like that. But otherwise, I can't see why people can't. Well, I suppose if people have to do what people have to do, but for me, I prefer actually kissing and hugging.
Do you think sex is better with condoms?
No.
Do you use condoms?
No.
Your voice speaking to our youth.
Andrew, you're married now.
Yes.
And are you monogamous?
Yes.
And have you and your wife both been tested?
Totally.
So there's no risk there unless there's either monogamy or they're sharing needles with somebody else outside the marriage.
Well,
No, we don't share needles.
So,
I didn't realise that. But if you were still in
It's
your...
a situation that's come about in the last couple of years for me.
Mm.
But I've known about the virus for quite some time, and it's. I mean, how long has it been since Australia's known about it?
First case in the United States, 81. It's been in Australia since
81,
late
yeah.
83.
Yeah, I would have said 5 or 6 years.
Mm.
But see, I think you're in a fortunate position if you can, if you find yourself in that relationship with a person, and quite fortunately I find myself in that position.
The community is looking for a cure, and it's also looking for a prevention to AIDS. And a true Christian really knows that there's one way to prevent it, and that's through monogamous sex, as the doctor was talking about. May not be the answer to everybody's way, but we know that there is an answer to the cure, and that cure can be through the power of God. Whether people like to laugh, whether they like to chat, the doctors still haven't found an answer, and they still aren't finding answers. In fact, they're getting worse. The answers are getting worse, and we know that the power of God really works in people's lives. I can testify to that myself. I've been cured of a disease, and I know plenty of other people that have. And if people are really interested in being cured, then all they've got to do is turn to the person that created them in the first place.
This is my second year with NAC AIDS, and I still find it really, really alarming. But people don't realise the complexity of, because it's like pyramid selling. There's a person at the top, and now the last person they had sex with, that one person, there's only 2 people involved now, but every person that they've had sex with over the last 6 to 8 years, that those people, say like now, just say you have a sexual encounter a month. So you've had 12 sexual encounters for the last year, every year for the last 5 or 6 years, right? So that's in the vicinity of around about 60 to 70, depending on how sexually active you are. And then you multiply that by the same amount by every sexual encounter that they've had.
Mm.
Now, some of them are more sexually active and some of them less, but it's a pyramidic thing. So, I mean, it's... When you look at it in those proportions, I mean, you just don't say to yourself, well, I've only heard about it in the last couple of years. It's been around for a long, long time.
It's not like gonorrhea. 3 or 4 days after you've had sex with somebody who's infected, you're going to know about it. You're going to have symptoms. This is a virus that stays in your system and you remain perfectly well, being able to carry out your job, doing everything, for up to 16 years. Most people, at 7 years, people after contracting the virus, about a third or 37% of those people will be perfectly well and not have developed AIDS. So you don't know about it. It's not something that you get a warning sign and you think, I better get this fixed up. It's a lifelong infection with a very long incubation period, might be up to 15 years. And if during that time you're going on just behaving, feeling perfectly well, having sex with who you like, you may well in fact be infecting, literally thousands of people, because you never know you have AIDS unless you have a test. You feel perfectly well.
Nick, is it an embarrassing thing to use a condom?
Yeah, I think for a lot of younger kids it is. I remember at school, you'd never, let's put it this way, I don't know anyone until I was about 21 who ever used a condom, or who ever talked about using a condom at school. It was always a really uncool or daggy thing to do, to expose the fact that you did use it. It has a lot to do with virility. I don't know. If you put on a condom, it was like it was something unnatural. You know, you had to have sex the natural way. You had to feel it. You had to feel it for all it's worth and all that sort of stuff.
One thing for sure, though, condoms are one way of preventing AIDS, and people have different opinions of them. Deborah hates them, Penelope doesn't need to use them anymore, Nick thinks they're daggy, but probably a lot of people who have never tried them, which is why we have some special show bags for tonight to be handed out now. So clutch your show bags, one and all. It's time to learn a little bit about condom technique. Now, we'd like you to open your show bags. It's a free condom and a free vegetable for all of you, which is more than many people get in countries around the world.
I wonder if that strange accent is a setup.
And commence your condom placing technique now. The gentleman there with the cucumber is looking perplexed. Mr. Eric Campbell, investigator, is just sitting there quietly, not fiddling with his condom. Yes, and we're seeing some interesting techniques here. The condom over the carrot proving to have a difficulty of 9.5 for some people. Come on, don't be shy. This could actually save your life one day. I have a feeling that for some people here, this is the biggest moment of their lives, if you know what I mean. Ah, yes, Mr. Palomar is the Spanish stud, and he's ripping into it quite happily there. Seems at ease with it all. Well done. The gentleman here at the table with the cucumbers seem to be well and truly at home. Up the back with the carrot, a black condom. Well done. OK, well, we've seen their varieties of ignorance about condom technique, and it's a bit of fun. It's good for a laugh. We can all have a joke about a condom over a cucumber. But in fact, what we're talking about is pretty serious.
It's not just condoms that we've got to fight AIDS. We've got to change. It's not as easy, obviously, a condom's on-the-spot solution, but people have to change their attitudes to sex. They must dissociate sex from guilt. They've got to do as angry as done. They've got to have honesty in their sex. They've got to associate sex with their continued health. And the people of the Cronulla area, if they believe they're immortal, well, I'm afraid the notion of adolescents and young people being immortal is something that's, of the past century. It's just irrelevant now in the 1980s. No one's immortal if they're having one-night stands or in Cronulla. Of course, the one-night stand, you can have 100 one-night stands that are completely safe, and you can have one-night stand that's an absolute disaster and get AIDS. So it's what you do in your one-night stands. You don't have to stop in one-night stands.
Do you reckon there's a difference between men and women with condoms?
Well, I think, Andy, women know that it does reduce sensation, but that, of course, means that you can do it for longer. I think women are, maybe this is why perhaps they're somewhat more predisposed to it. You can have a better time.
What do you do if you would say wind up in a situation where you've really got the hots for somebody and you don't have any condoms with you? What would you do? Is there any way of having safe sex without using condoms?
Well, you can still have a really good time. I've had plenty of good times.
How would you do that?
You've got all sorts of bits of your bodies that you can use. That they're all fun.
What about you? Do you reckon there's ways of having safe sex without using condoms?
Definitely, heaps and heaps of them. You've got your mouth, you've got your hands, you've got your arms and your legs and your tummy and your back, and you
can roll around and have a good time, no matter what. Yeah. And your elbows and everything, your armpit, whatever.
Do you reckon, can you have orgasms without penetration?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, the thing about sex is if you just wanted to have an orgasm, you can do that by yourself, but really making love takes two people, and it doesn't just mean in and out. It means a lot of different things.
Do you think that there's out in the community there's a general idea that people could get into sex without penetration?
I think if they looked back to what they used to do when they were at high school, yeah, they could remember a lot of fun things they used to do. And if they didn't do it when they were at high school, it's never too late to learn.
Well, of course...
Just use your imagination, you know, just
Of course,
have a
another
look.
form of safe sex is just to be really unattractive. That always works. Deborah, you've been sitting there quietly ever since the condom controversy of earlier in the show.
Taking it all in.
Are most of your friends aware of safe sex and what it means, do you think?
Yeah, I think they are. But I think what's happened is that I'm now in the age group where a lot of my friends are starting to get married. They've been monogamous for a long time. And we've kind of avoided the whole health scare of safe sex. And in a way, we're the really lucky generation that don't have to adapt, because we've made other concessions. I feel really sorry for the people that perhaps are in my generation and that haven't found the partner of their lifetime, because it's a really late time in life to teach an old dog new tricks. Whereas I think with the people coming up now, the kids that are 15 and 16, and they're finding out about condoms, you know, virtually as they're finding out about sex and safe sex, it's going to be a lot easier because condoms are presented almost as a fashion item these days. So it's, you know, it's kind of, it's a whole lot easier. Everybody's doing it, their friends are doing it. There's an entirely new morality coming up as well. We're kissing and cuddling a whole lot more. But if you've come up through my ranks where it was like kiss and cuddle and then a quick bunt out the back, you know, it's a lot harder to change those habits.
Yes. Well, with an incubation period of 16 years, I hope you were the lucky ones. Peter, if there's about 300 people in this room tonight, and if we take them as being representative of Australian society, how many of these people are going to be affected by AIDS in some way over the next 5 years, say?
Over the next 5 to 10 years, Andrew, most people in Australia, most people in this room, will be affected by AIDS in some way. If they don't develop them themselves, they're almost certain. In 3 years' time, there'll be 10,000 people in Australia with AIDS, right? That's in 3 years' time. Now, we know that it's going to be a lot, as time goes by, a lot more people. There'll be tens of thousands of people. Vietnam will be a piece of piss compared to AIDS. Everybody in this room is going to be affected by either their cousin, their sister, their brother, some of their workmates, someone they went to school with, someone they played footy with, a rock star, their favourite DJ, a relative. Everybody's going to be affected and going to see somebody die of AIDS. It's almost inevitable. Statistically, it's almost inevitable. And I'm afraid that's the thing that's going to actually change people's attitudes to AIDS. At the moment, we're in an Indian summer in Australia. We've got like 700 cases of AIDS in the whole of Australia as of last month. Now, you know, that is going to double just this year alone. And because the virus takes so long to actually deplete the immune system and produce people who are sickened with AIDS that you can actually visibly see and know have AIDS, in the meantime, in the next 5 years or so, we're going to think, oh, well, the worst is over, the crisis is over, whereas, in fact, it's going to escalate. And at the moment, we might be living in a fool's paradise. Anybody who's having unsafe sex is living in a fool's paradise because there's a lot of AIDS in the Australian community and we're all going to be affected by it. Whether we're infected by it really is determined by what we do after we leave here tonight.
Right. Well, on that particularly cheery note, I think we'll end the conversation there. And I should remind you that he's nearly here. Graham Linden is almost with us. In the meantime, though, we're going to hear from Deborah, what are you still doing here? You're meant to be out there playing. Quickly, go.
Oh, sorry.
I'll cover for you.
Sorry.
I'll somehow delay while Deborah goes. Ladies and gentlemen, here they are, live, Do Re Mi.
When you're born out to You'll know this. I try not to stand too close to myself. I try not to listen to the things they say. They say there's no such thing as self-abuse, but you wonder how I can be trusted if I'm finally tuned or well-adjusted. Oh, pretty about you. Oh, pretty about me. Most pretty about her. Every time she comes inside, you had to run. You had to run. You wish that crush would go away. Square pussy light, drumming on conversation. Parsons Frost is peeling, drumming on the congregation. Reaching for a glass of water, red socks and red rash. Your shoes on my bed, don't drop to my cigarette ash. Well, I try to play it open-handed. Well, I try to make a fist of this. Even when the questions are candid, my arrows miss. I put it by your fragile ego. Yes, you. Yes, so what am I expected to do? Shout man overboard. Come around and sleep. Roll around, try to wake me. That's a rat you got to go now. What's over, take me. Your pubic hairs around my pillow. Your stubborn red sink your words on my skin. Your table manners stink. Well, I'll tell you the things I know. You once were trivia in a vase when insincere I love yous. Next door's familiars. This position I shall need you on my crutch under stress. Young brother when it's hard, I'm bored staring at the ceiling. Why you blowing up my clothes? I've watched the wallpaper peeling from slamming doors. You talk about peanuts and me and your friends, but Lord, what am I expected to do? Shout man overboard. Across the world girls, look around, start for jealous waxy trees, smell of parties. Like in a humor, you addicted to attention, into it perfect, you're wet, out of control, misunderstood and wrecked. Oh, deliver me, there's danger here, there's winter fill the sail. No delivery from evil is arriving in the mail. Take this wheel and guide it. When the evening comes around, you'll find me at the happiest place in town. I can't follow you, I don't believe I'm frightened by the dark. Like the shells of these cicadas, I'm still clinging to the bark. When the sky is crying and its tears are in town. One day soon I won't be lifting a receiver. One day you will look at me and say, don't apologize. I never thought the times we spent apart killed an inch of those emotions that were hiding in my heart. When your dreams are broken and your friends are let you down, I'll take you to the happiest place in town. Shining example, throw arms around the earth. Drug boys on the voice, all the kings of the gutter. An alien here, hell country on my birth. Listen to the company heartbeats, drip that I can beat. It happens in my head, my body cannot move, but I'm not a very good sight to see. Like Sunday, no movement in the suburbs and the sprinklers hiss. Cheesemongers hanging out the windows, banging doors, pleading for a little kiss. You can win lots of money, you can afford to go away. You see their pretty faces and the windows out there every place. She's the ones who have to stay. Into the city, they felt things big, never
Are we on? Can you hear me? That was Do Re Mi with 4 fabulous songs. Can you? Oh, well, I think we're on anyway. I'm now broadcasting, world first from inside a condom. I'm taking what you might call a spermatozoan's eye view. And believe you me, if I were a sperm, I wouldn't want to be in one of these. It's very claustrophobic. I can just picture the scene at ejaculation, panic, furniture being pushed to the side, a sperm crawl all over each other, desperately trying to get out. It's quite strange being in here. I guess the best way to describe it is it's very dark and it's pretty spooky. The sides seem to be closing in on me, and the overwhelming impression is just sort of dankness, real dankness and dampness, and I think this has been used before, actually. I think another ABC personality has been using this condom. Oh. That's disgusting. Okay, look, I'm sorry about that. Embarrassing moment. Anyway, the good news is apparently the dressing room door is open, the carpet is out, the minders are ready, and the man is on his way. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand up, because about to enter the studio, the king of Australian television returned at last, Graham Linden!
Andrew and the whole crazy crew will return next Monday at 10:10. Spread the word. Next on ABC, highlights of Day 4 in the bicentennial cricket test, Australia versus England.